Hi, this is Joe back with Daily Arena. Today I'm going to be looking at a deck tech for a Green-White Angels deck that I found on Aetherhub. I'll put a link to that deck in the article that I will post along with this video. I'll put the URL for that article in the notes for the video on YouTube. Alright. The Green-White Angels deck's game plan is to ramp up and to survive long enough to make big angels and smash the opponent with them, while controlling the board with white enchantment and creature-based removal. I've divided all of the cards in the deck into 6 categories, and will group them together by category for the discussion below. Note that some cards fall into multiple categories. The first category is, of course, Angels. Angel of Sanctions was a great card from Amonkhet, and it's still good here. It has a great enter the battlefield ability, it comes back from the grave, and has decent enough stats that you don't even feel too bad when you need to cast it when there's nothing for its enter the battlefield ability to target. Shalai, Voice of Plenty, is one of the best creatures in Dominaria. She's a 3/4 flyer for 4 mana, which is already above the curve. She protects your other creatures by giving them hexproof, and she can pump them all permanently when you run out of things to do with your mana. Serra Angel is an oldie, but a goodie. It used to be a popular control deck finisher in the days when creatures this good were few and far between, and having one in this deck can help, since the fact that it has Vigilance lets it dodge steal away, and also allows you to use it offensively on your turn as well as defensively on your opponent's. Lyra Dawnbringer, also known as Baneslayer Angel 2.0, sits with Shalai, Voice of Plenty, at the top of the power curve for creatures in Dominaria. She's big, evasive, has First Strike and Lifelink, and she incidentally pumps any other angels you control while giving them Lifelink as well. Heaven help your opponent if you manage to put a Helm of Hosts on her. Category 2 is Ramp. Channeler Initiate is probably my second favorite ramp creature in this format. It's relatively cheap, ramps you in the beginning of the game when you need it to, and when it's done ramping, it's still a real creature that can attack and block. Just when we thought 1-drop mana dorks were a thing of the past, Llanowar Elves gets a reprint. This is the gold standard of creature-based ramp, as it comes out on turn 1, allowing you to ramp starting at as early as turn 2. Using 2 Llanowar Elves to power out a turn 3 Lyra Dawnbringer is just plain sick. Treasure Map doesn't actually ramp until it transforms, and the ramp it does provide isn't necessarily its primary function, but the treasure tokens it generates can be used often enough to cast something big, to generate extra mana to sink, or to cast 2 spells in a turn you'd normally only be able to cast 1 in, that it deserves a place here in the ramp category. Oketra's Monument only ramps your white creatures, but since most of the important creatures in this deck are big white angels, that's okay. Cost reduction can also be better than actual creature or land-based ramp as well, since it will occasionally allow you to use it to help pay the cost of 2 separate creatures on the same turn. Category 3 is Utility. I felt a little strange putting Carnage Tyrant in the utility category, but this actually seems to be where it fits the best. The main reason to have this card in the deck is as a foil to blue-based control decks. As someone on the forum said, once I see the first island, I am fishing for my Carnage Tyrant. Sunscourge Champion keeps you alive against aggressive decks long enough to start playing out your largest threats and getting enough mana for your more expensive removal. It also attacks in for incidental damage against creature-light decks, or when your opponent stumbles, and that can ultimately mean the difference between winning and losing a game. Thrashing Brontodon is a real creature with good stats that attacks and blocks well, and doubles as enchantment removal to help get your important permanents out from under your opponent's enchantments, kill pesky curses and sagas, etc. Demystify is a sideboard card moved to the main deck since we're playing in a format with no sideboarding. This does everything Thrashing Brontodon does besides being a creature for super cheap at instant speed. Adventurous Impulse helps you find land when you need it, or spells when you have the land. It's cheap card draw and selection in a color that generally doesn't have many good options as far as those go, and probably the only real knock against it is that it's not an instant. Treasure Map smooths out your draws and then turns into an extra card per turn for 3 turns, with the flexibility of ramping you into a big spell or multiple spells if you already have them in your hand to cast. While I'd argue that the ramp ability is Oketra's Monument's main feature in this deck, the fact that it also generates free blockers and attackers in some situations is a real bonus. It's very nice when your Llanowar Elves all bring a friend along. Helm of the Host is probably not a card you want multiples of in the deck, but having one of these to stick on one of your angels, especially Lyra Dawnbringer, or for that matter any of your creatures, is worth using up a card slot. Shefet Dunes is another good one for this deck. Its ability is not huge, but can help you push through those last points of damage, and since it doesn't slow down your mana, the cost of putting it in is relatively low. The cycling deserts are good enough that including a few of them that can be sacrificed to Shefet Dunes is reasonable also. Desert of the Indomitable and Desert of the True get you mana early in the game when it's most important, and can cycle away to get you closer to a spell in the late game when land draws aren't as good. They also have synergy with Shefet Dunes, as I mentioned earlier. Since they slow down your mana base, I wouldn't include too many of them, but having a few of them will do more good than harm. Category 4 is Removal. Angel of Sanctions is a nice evasive threat that deals with any non-land permanent your opponent has until they deal with it. Its Embalm ability makes it harder to deal with since you can often get it back again after they kill it the first time. Ixalan's Binding is the king of enchantment-based removal. It will take care of just about anything you need to deal with, and make sure your opponent can't just replace it with another one. Cast Out deals with everything Ixalan's Binding deals with, but maybe not quite as permanently. Having both Flash and Cycle more than make up for this though, as you'll often want to cycle it away on an opponent's end step, especially when playing against a permanent-like deck. And when you do want to use it, being able to flash it in a turn earlier than you would have been able to cast Ixalan's Binding can sometimes be a big advantage. Seal Away only works against creatures, and those creatures have to be tapped. These drawbacks mean that you probably don't want more than a couple of these in the deck, but the fact that it's cheap and can be cast at instant speed makes it good enough to warrant inclusion. Category 5 is Gideon. Gideon of the Trials can often take pressure off you when you need it most, and he can be a real fast clock against any opponent that stumbles before he comes out, swinging for 4 points of damage per turn until they deal with him. The 6th and final category is Mana Fixing. Sunpetal Grove helps get the colors of mana you need when you need them. It's important for the deck, and it's worth it to craft, even though it uses up your scarce rare wild cards. Scattered Groves fixes your mana early in the game when it's most important, and can cycle away to get you closer to a spell in the late game when land draws aren't as good. It also has the Forest and Plains basic land types, meaning playing one of these tapped on turn 1 will allow you to play an untapped Sunpetal Grove on turn 2. During my playtesting, this deck was a ton of fun, though not nearly as competitive as some of the other decks I've tried out. It's definitely a deck for casual play, but it does win a respectable amount of games, and it's really satisfying when it comes together. I'm just going to let the gameplay video play out now. You can watch it if you're interested in watching that, or you can just turn it off. Either way, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.
Sorry I'm late. Hold that thought. No time for a break. gods of this world are worthy of service. That's enough. Try getting through me. I've got you. Right on schedule. Let's skip to the good part. You know what? I'm not done yet. We need to move quickly. You hold no power over me. Stand down. Keep up the pace! Hurry! You hold no power over me. I don't think so.
I will defend my ass. Good choice. Well chosen.
You know what? I'm not done yet.